so welcome everyone. Before we start, let me first take a poll. If you like the sound, please raise your hand. Okay, not much. Okay, so actually, handbells are such resonant instruments, and as a ringer for almost 10 years, I've always been fascinated by such resonances and the combinations that such resonances can make. So arranging handbell music is such a broad area, right? So today I will be discussing the topic in four main research areas. First, I will be discussing the issues in arranging pieces for handbells and other instruments. Also, I will discuss on the ways that the distinctive features of handbells hinder its blending with other instruments. Also, I will talk about the practical difficulties when arranging handbell music, and also how to adapt different genres for handbell ensemble. So today's recital will be divided into four parts, with each part having a piece as a demonstration. So the first part will be an arrangement of a Baroque piece, which is Allegro from Spring of Vivaldi. And then second will be a dual arrangement with Jun-sang, which is with Now of Torch Festival by Jun-sang Ng as a demonstration. And then the third part will be a quintet for handbells and percussion, which is Pandora, my own composition. And lastly, the last part will be an arrangement of a pop song, which is the Volitio Ringers. So most of you here may not know what handbells really are, so let me briefly introduce the instruments. So handbells are transposing instruments. They sound an octave higher than written. And they are percussive. Their sound is produced by the clapper hitting the bell casting. You will see the clapper inside. Yes. And then we have 15 solo techniques, and the techniques are only applicable to handbells and hand chimes and are not applicable to other instruments. It is made of bronze, handbells are made of bronze, so therefore we have a metal sounding timbre. And for the ensemble setting, as you see, it is set in the form of a piano. This is a setting of a 5-octave handbell ensemble. So it's actually an enlarged piano with each bell representing a note. So each ringer, handbell ringer, usually gets in charge of 2 to 4 bells. So why are handbells that special? The major difference between a handbell ensemble and other ensembles is that handbell ensembles have various ringers constructing one melody and resemble one. Oh, okay, that's it. Let's continue. So handbell ensembles have various ringers constructing one melody and resemble one instrument, which is the piano. And so it's actually an enlarged piano with more than 20 hands here. And compared to that, in the orchestra or for example gamelan, each performer has their own instruments and combine different melodies. So although collaboration and synchronization is also important in other ensembles, it is crucial in handbell ensembles. Okay, so let's move on to our first piece of today, an arrangement of a Baroque piece, which is Allegro from Spring or Four Seasons by Vivaldi. So this piece was originally a string concerto, so therefore there are some string elements, not really only for strings. There are some elements that are applicable for string concerto, but not in the handbell context. The first one is the sustain of notes. So you may see in the red box there, there is a long bowing on the cello. Yeah, there is a long bowing on the cello that goes through several bars. And so it is actually is unique to strings as they can have a long bowing. But then for handbells, as we have decay, like our sounds disappear after ringing, so it cannot do so. So here I use balaro or shake, which can have a sustained sound to it to substitute the long bowing. So the difference here is that is on the timbre. For the original composition, it is sustaining and without decay, but then for the arranged version, it's like grouping percussive sounds rapidly, such to making sustained sound. Another element is the overlapping note range through different instruments. As string concertos have different instruments, they can have a interlocking, or they can have the same they have different melodies but the same range or in a similar range. So therefore, in the Handbell arrangement, I distributed it to different to different octaves in the Handbell context. For example, for the blue box, I actually for the blue area, I actually moved it down 2 octaves lower. And also, another example is to add extra voices to distinguish between them. Like for the red area, I actually added a third below the original melody. So, as I've said just now, the string concertos have different instruments inside it. So, therefore, there are many different timbres interacting. So in Handbells, we have only a single tone color and a similar tone color. So how to increase timbre capacity? The first approach is to add various timbre techniques. For example, I add the gyro and echo to substitute the trills, which you've seen it, and also master iso and master iso lift to add variations to the repeating bass. Another approach is on the dynamics and style of ringing. I'll take these 2 measures as an example, where there is a counter melody on the organ. So for the counter melody on the organ, I used a force dynamic and also advised the ringers to bring a punching style, such to contrast with the existing upper strings melody, which is the running notes and with flicking style and piano dynamics. So on to some difficulties of the piece. So, as I said in the introduction, Handbells is actually an archpiano with more than 20 hands. So, there is a solo melody line and it will be divided between a few ringers. So, for example, in this extract, there is a triplet passage on the solo violin. So the solo violin actually it's by itself, so it's really easy for the violin. But then for us, for the Handbell ensembles, it's actually divided between 7 ringers. So actually the synchronization and the matching of timbre and tempo between ringers is really crucial. So now, please enjoy the first piece of today, Allegro from Spring of 4 Seasons by Vivaldi. Please enjoy. Okay, testing. So, finishing Allegro, let's move on to our next piece of today, which is a dual arrangement with Zhongyuan, a Chinese instrument, with Night of Torch Festival by Jun-sang Ng as a demonstration. So first, this piece is actually originally a Zhongyuan solo, and it is originally unaccompanied, and I added handbells on top of the original composition. So therefore, the main arrangement approach here is the method to compose convincing handbell materials to accompany the solo zhongyuan. So through arranging this piece, I actually encountered many difficulties. But then at last, I identified two main approaches in the new handbell accompaniment. The first approach is exploring adequate referring parts in the melody. For example, adding octave ornaments with the sustained Latin, and also which complements the single melody of zhongyuan. And also another example is to strike on the accent or the downbeat, which emphasizes more the downbeat. So these embellishments actually create more color to the piece. So another approach is to compose counter melodies. So it's actually not really mere composing. It's actually the variations of melody played before or after the zhongyuan melody. So to make a choral response with the zhongyuan. So here the challenge is how to make the melody convincing, such to be regarded as a melody. Another approach in this aspect is to make a unison with the zhongyuan melody. So to emphasize on the melody more and also add more timbre. Actually, not only this piece, but then while arranging for different combinations of the instruments, the difference in tone color is actually really important. So for this piece, the tone color of zhongyuan is actually having a thin texture, and also it's dry, as it is having a stop progressive sound. So the role of handbells there are two roles of handbells for this arrangement. The first one is to show contrast. To show contrast, I use the long resonant sounds by breaking, and utilize the left vibrate effect to create a resonating layer beside the zhongyuan melody, to enrich the texture and color of the session. Another role is to blend in, and to blend in, I have to use techniques like stop techniques like Baroque or Martial as handbells are resonant, right? So the progressive stop sounds are to blend with the zhongyuan, but in a metal and bright color. So now please enjoy the second piece of today. Now Torch Festival, the dual arrangement of Torch Festival for handbell and zhongyuan. set for percussion and handbells with Pandora as a demonstration. So I think I have to go here. So if you came to the performance on Tuesday, you may know that there's actually a premiere in the performance studies performance this Tuesday. So, but then before moving on to the performance, let me introduce the concept behind this piece first. So the instrumentation is to have 4 percussionists, with the first percussionist having the handbells, and then the second, third, and fourth percussionists having different kinds of percussion instruments. But then you may notice there's a quintet today. It's because I divided the second percussion between 2 players in this performance. So the concept behind such instrumentation is the 4 groups of sounds. So respectively, there are handbells, stop sounds, high resonant, and low resonant. So the rationale here was originally to be having each player representing each group of sounds respectively. So therefore, you see actually player 1 is playing the handbells and player 2 is stop sounds like this. So you may see there are 2 different handbells parts, which are in percussion 1 and percussion 4. So why is that? It's because of the timbre differences between high and low register handbells. For the high register handbells, they have a bright and light timbre, so their tone color is actually on top of other instruments. So also as they are tuned, they can construct a melodic line above the resonant sounds, and also intersect and interact with the stop sounds. Compared to that is the low register handbells, which is the use of the C3 handbell in this piece. So I utilized the much resonant and the low sound of the bass handbells in this piece. So my rationale is to create a layer of low bass resonant sounds at the bottom of everything. Onto some practical issues of this piece. So handbells actually have their own notations, have their own techniques, as I've said. So regarding handbells as a percussion instrument and in a percussion ensemble, there are some issues that I had to notice. The first one is including a code for handbell techniques, because some performers may not be handbell ringers and they need to know how to play a part. So actually for the introduction part, I actually added this chart with the techniques and also the name and also the explanations. So the explanations are to describe what sounds are expected. So therefore the percussionists may know. So let me introduce the introduction page of this piece. So for handbells, we have a bells use chart. Literally for every piece, we have a bells use chart, which is to ease the ringers in setting up for the piece. And for percussion, it's usual to have an introduction page or performance notes, which lists all instruments in the piece needed to be used by the performers. So therefore, in this piece, I included the handbells used in the performance notes page with the instrument list, so therefore I actually combined both conventions. So now please enjoy the first piece of today, Pandora, which is my original composition. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to our last part today, which is an arrangement of a pop song, Still to Me by Chan. Okay, so actually, not only this piece, through arranging different types of pop music, I actually identified three characteristics of pop music. So the first one is the repetitive chords and sections. They mostly repeat the chords through verse and chorus, and they are in the first, chorus, and bridge form. Also, they're electronic. They use electronic mixing and effects, especially for EDM. And lastly, for pop songs, lyrics of a pop song has a large share in constructing the meaning of the song. For the repeating chorus and chords, how do I enhance the color? There are two approaches. The first one is on the techniques and dynamics. So I utilize the contrasting colors between handbells with similar range and handbells in full ensemble. So, which is also to differentiate between different sections. For the first chorus, I use only top octaves only. You will see there are only two layers and a rather simple score. And also I use mezzo piano as a dynamics. For a second chorus, I use a full ensemble setting with 4 layers. You will see it's actually packed in the score, and which is to contrast with the first chorus. And also I use 4 stage dynamics. And for the bridge after the second chorus, I use suspended melting and echo the techniques to contrast with the second chorus also. For the tempo and mood, which is my second approach, using the first and second chorus and also the bridge example just now. First chorus, I created a dreamy atmosphere by raising the high register pedals, and which is contrasted with the second chorus, which is a rich and thick texture with the firmness and strongness by low register pedals. You may see they're so packed and there are so many 16 notes in the low bass. And on the bridge, I created a soothing mood with the echoing and also the suspended. So before moving on to how the method of constructing the meaning of the piece, let's take a look at the lyrics from the chorus. Despite getting on rapidly, you still have to do anything you want. Philosophies are too difficult, swipe away the map. Do not listen to advices, there are still roads for youth. Be patient to the point where people would warn you. So you may see it's only the chorus, but it already has a firmness of being willed and pattern theme. And also the whole song actually has a theme of youthfulness. So how to construct the meaning? Actually the meaning of and theme of the song really affects the style arranged. For example, I won't arrange like this if it's a ballad. So for this, I utilize the special timbre and color of handbells. For the opening verse, I used chords per beat to show the firmness and will. For the second chorus, I arranged intersecting different layers to construct a feel of running and richness. And for the ending, the rich and thick texture continued towards a perfect cadence, which makes a complete ending and having the theme of faithfulness. So now please enjoy the last piece of today, Still Me by Chan. And I'm very proud of Still Me. Thank you. last piece of today. So let me first sum up, make a conclusion for the concept of today. So in three points, the first point will be timbre. The sharp and metal timbre of handbells and various techniques in handbells actually enable more color to be constructed. So the restrictions is that the same tone color actually restricts much arrangement possibilities for handbells and for only handbells or handbells with other instruments. And also for the practicality, the unique convention among handbell music have to be merged with the arranged convention when arranging for different combinations. Original composition, which is called As and Praise. Yes, please and go.